Okay, I think it is. Let me know if you guys can hear me all right too, because we tend to have that problem where for some reason the audio works when we're testing everything, but then won't work when we're actually live. So please let me know. Let me know in the comments right away too. If you see my mouth yammering, but you don't hear any audio, definitely let me know. Also, hello everyone. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. I am in a very good mood today, and I'm very excited to just chat with you guys and draw. So hopefully if you are feeling a little down, hopefully I can kind of pick you up, or I don't know, share some fun stuff or have good conversation while you work today. Whatever it is, I'm in a good mood. Okay, it sounds like sound is working this time around. Whew, okay. So I put as the stream today that I'm going to do a free draw, but I think I'm going to do some thumbnailing for my next tarot card, which is the Star. And I've been excited to get started on this one. I made this a vote on my Patreon, and I think there were 4 or 5 different cards you could vote on, and this one won the vote. So I'm going to be diving into the Star today. Also, hello everyone. Welcome. Yes, Digital is one of our wonderful mods who will be here today on the chat, along with Schwa, who is my soon-to-be husbando, and he will also be modding the chat on the text channel today. So thank you guys for coming. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of show you guys my process of creating thumbnails, and then I'm gonna just explore what that looks like. I kind of like these streams where it's not so definitive of having a final result, but it's very much like me kind of exploring, I guess, together with you guys on what my process in the early stages of an illustration looks like. So it's going to be very fluid. It's very watery today. There's nothing concrete that I'm going to be looking for. And as you can see, this was my last one that I did. This was the Knight of Swords. And I liked having my previous knights on the side. So this was my previous Knight of Cups, the finished version. And then the one beneath was the Knight of Pentacles, my thumbnail. So I tried to give myself a comparison of, okay, this is the level of roughness and detail that I'm trying to get before I go into pencil. So I'm gonna do the same for the Star today. Actually, I might even copy. I might even let that one just be seen. Hello everyone. Curse Vita says, glad to see you are happy. That's when the best drawings come along. It definitely gets inspiration flowing for sure, because then you're like excited to do work. Not always the case. Sometimes if I'm like in a really good mood, I don't even want to work at all. I just want to like go outside or explore, like something. I want to be doing something. But today it kind of aligned where I want to draw and I'm in a good mood. So I agree. That's when like beautiful things can happen. So this is the original Rider-Waite card right here. I believe I can show this on the stream without getting flagged. I know she's naked, but let's be honest, it's definitely more artistic interpretation rather than like explicit version of the Star. But her nudity also represents, I did a lot of research this morning on the card, and it's very much like pure and being vulnerable. And there's nothing, you don't need any armor in this card. It's very much like the core of who you are. There's nothing added on, and I like that. Easy Tay says, is it weird to ask why someone is in a good mood? Yesterday was just a weird collection of good things that happened back to back to back. The first one was me and Josh. We love VR mini golf. It sounds silly, but walk around, I think it's called walk around or walk about mini golf. And they released a Meow Wolf pack that, if you guys don't know what that is, they are I don't know if they're a company, but they basically do installments around America that are just very trippy and weird and very unique experience that you won't soon forget. For whatever reason, they partnered with this mini golf game, and they created this very trippy, kind of like an acid trip kind of level. And me and Josh were just like absolutely loving it. It was such a good time. And then when we finished that, we went to go see the new Miyazaki movie, The Boy and the Heron, which I definitely want to talk about today on the stream. Didn't see any trailers going into it. All I know is that I love Miyazaki. Spirited Away is in my top 3 favorite movies ever, and I've always trusted his eye for detail and the way he represents stories. And I was blown away. I can easily say this is my top favorite film of the year, and we'll talk about it later. I'll do my best not to be spoilery at all, but I will say it is quirky. It's definitely not what people, I think, expect from a film like his, or even a Ghibli film in general, but absolutely loved it. And then after that, I was able to release my new reel, which was, I wonder if I can, let's see here. It was Josh as an angel getting his wings cut off. And there was a lot of symbolism behind the reel. And I was really happy with how it turned out. I liked the way I articulated the like details in the back muscles. And I think the actual video of like the wings being dragged off, these like heavy angelic wings being dragged off in this pool of gold being smeared in front of him in a line. I've had this visual in my head for like 2.5, 3 months now. So to actually see it come alive in the reel was really wonderful. And the reaction's been really good. I did lose a little bit of a follower count, but I always do whenever I showcase anything that is gay or alludes to what it's like being a gay man. Because I don't try to have that be my upfront personality or identity, but it is a small part of me. And whenever it comes out in a drawing, I think sometimes it makes people feel uncomfortable, or it is just maybe not what they want when they follow an artist, which I respect. I get it. Some people follow me for like pretty drawings or the Halloween-y, macabre stuff. So when they see this boy with, gold blood dripping down his back from wings being like chopped and severed off, yeah, maybe not their cup of tea. So I can take that with a grain of salt. I'm not offended by it, and I understand that that's part of it. But the reaction, besides losing a few followers, has been awesome. And maybe that's a good lesson for anyone here to learn is, if you are proud of the work you are making, you can't take the way that people perceive it or receive it as whether or not you should feel good about what you did. Because yeah, I might have lost, it was like 300 followers. But I lost the 300 overnight, but who knows, maybe in the, like right now, I think it has 90,000 views. Maybe a couple of those people have never seen my work before. And if only like, let's say if 2 people buy, like if I do a Kickstarter next April, if 2 people buy my art book from watching this specific, very niche piece of work, yeah, then it was worth it, because yeah, I might have lost 300, but I might have gained 2 true fans. And I think that's something to always consider, is you're not going out into social media trying to cast as big a net as possible. You're trying to catch the people that actually connect with you on like a deeper level than just, oh, it's a pretty drawing. I like that they make pretty pictures. Some people, that's all they want, which fair. But I think if people are going to be engaging or working with your art more than just that, you got to be showing more of yourself, your vulnerability. And I think that's what people will attach to. So anyways, very long answer to the question. Sorry, I tend to ramble. I'm just, like I said, I'm in a good mood. I get excited. So before I look at the comments again, let me just really quick, I'm going to just start doing some quick sketching. I did take my notes this morning on the star, as you can see. All my notes. So I have the artwork, the meaning reversed. I have 13 or 14 different sources that I try to pull from. And then my goal as an artist interpreting this Rider Tarot deck, or Rider Waite Tarot deck, is what is the common thread amongst all these different interpretations that I'm finding online or in books or on YouTube. And I'm going to try to find what feels true to the card's meaning. And every now and then there'll be an outlier where I'm like, that feels like a random one-off interpretation. But in this case, I feel like all of the sources that I had for the start were pretty on brand. So the whole point of this card and what I'm doodling today is this like rejuvenation of hope. It's the star is right after the major arcana card, the Tower, which is considered arguably the worst in the deck. Like, it's the destruction of something that you built up, and now it's all crumbling down. And the star is basically you shedding everything that you thought you believed in, or things that you lost, and you're finding like that pure core of who you are, and in that you find the faith and hope that you once had before your journey began, that you're like rediscovering. And there's so many little nuggets in this card that I learned about this morning, and I'll share a couple of them, but as I get started on the actual drawing, you'll see even more and more. But for instance, there is she's holding two jugs. One's representing her subconscious, one her conscious. The conscious is pouring the water, as you can see, onto the land, and it's supposed to show that the water that she's pouring is fertilizing the land around her. It's very lush, and it splits into 5 different what are called rivulets, I found out. And those 5 little rivulets are supposed to represent the 5 senses. So these are very like objectable, like physical, tangible things that you can see, where the other jug is pouring into the subconscious. And I saw a lot of different interpretations on the artwork specifically, but the fact that she's kneeling over the water, because there's so much rippling happen from pouring into the subconscious, you cannot see the reflection of yourself. And my interpretation of that is very much that when you're really doing meditative work, you're trying to break the ego, like you're looking past the ego and what's beyond that. And I definitely get that interpretation from looking at it. And you can see how she has one knee planted like on the ground, and the other foot seems to be like hovering on the water, kind of like a reference to Jesus almost. And I like the idea that she might be grounded on the plan or on the ground with her one knee and her one leg, sure. But I like the idea that she's putting trust in the conscious, which is her back leg, and then her unconscious, which is that front leg. And because of that trust, there's a balance. And I definitely feel a lot of what I felt when I did my temperance card, which is temperance is all about balance. It's like the number one balance card. So I think the star is almost kind of a reflection of that, because temperance also had one foot on land, but temperance actually had one foot in the water, as you can see on the very bottom here. And the water has a reflection of the moon, which once again representing subconscious. And a lot of water in tarot represents that subconscious energy. Same with High Priestess in the number 2 in the major arcana. And you can see her dress literally flows into water. It becomes water. So a lot of interpreters see that as anytime you see water or river or whatever in any of the other cards, the origin is from the High Priestess dress. So fun little, stuff about tarot. Now, mind you, if you don't believe in the hoodoo juju of tarot, it's fine. I am very hesitant to fully believe it myself. I do think it creates this beautiful conversation amongst two people that might not otherwise have happened in like normal conversation. So that's why I'm really attracted to tarot. And I am just excited to continue making my own deck. So let's get into it. I'm jabbering way too much. How are you guys doing today? How's everyone doing? I know that was a lot of talking in one just big spew here. And if you put @vonnart before your comment, that way as I just go between the comments on my other monitor and the drawing that's in front of me on the Zen Slab Cintiq, it would make it easier for me. Thank you. From A, if you spoil the boy and the heron, my whole friend group will have my head in an overpriced cinema popcorn box. Don't worry, I won't say anything. I'm gonna like very much allude to things when I talk about the movie. We like your rambling. Thank you. Jim says, I thought the reel was so strong. Definitely PG-13ish and disturbing, but ultimately very moving and connected with me, and I'm sure many others. This is life. Life can get real. I was so, I thought for sure I might have gotten flagged because, yes, the blood is represented by this gold ink, but it's still kind of blood. And the way that I severed the wings off of Josh's back, I didn't want it to be like a clean cut. I almost wanted it to look like a hack job. So obviously this is very much off screen in the reel, but the visual of someone taking just like an ordinary pair of scissors and trying to cut through a human's wings as if, if we were angels, it would just be a very slow and a very painful process. And actually, I know one final ramble and then I'll get into the drawing, I swear. But this kind of goes into what I love about art making, and I love storytelling. I think the best art can really be a connection, or the best art in a way, is the art that connects to people the most, if that makes sense. So even the way that I shot this reel, I wanted to start off showing his fist. I wanted you to tell there was tension immediately before you even saw anything else. And then the camera pans up. Let me zoom in. So it kind of like, it starts here and you don't even see the wings yet. It pans up, you see the boy and you see the look on his face, and then it pans and shows the wings. So you're like, okay, well, that seems not that obscure. It's just an angel. But then from the side, I have, let's see here. I feel like I'm giving a PowerPoint presentation or something today. I'm just too excited, I'm telling you. But then as the music crescendos into this beat, you see a hand holding scissors come off from off screen, and then another hand kind of just like a serving plate gesture of like, give it to me. And it's the idea of the wings that you have on your back, they belong to us. They do not belong to you. You do not deserve them. You are not worthy of them. And then throughout the beats of the song, and it's a song that me and Josh both really like, it's called Love Me Wrong by Ali X and Troye Sivan. And it's very much about being a child, a gay child of parents who do not accept you fully. So the idea behind the song is you love me, but you love me wrong. And in this part, it's like near the climax of the song, there's these 8 beats and it's dung, 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 dung. So for each of those beats, I wanted a different, really quick half-second slice of visually interpretable what's happening in the process of cutting the wings off. So like I wanted one shot of just me holding scissors, and then, and then it cuts into gold paint being splattered on white feathers, and it's these 8 really quick cuts. And then when she starts belting the song, and it's the big like, you love me wrong, I wanted there'd be a cut to black moment where you feel the drums, and then in the final drum part, the camera pulls back and it reveals this drawing, which is, let me re-pull it in here, which is now the same boy, which is represented by Josh, hunched over, and you just see the gold blood dripping from his back to where the wings once were. And I don't think I have an actual picture of it, but in front of him, I gold leafed a line, like 3 very messy lines, as if these heavy wings were being dragged in front of him away. And I wanted the wings to have a lot of this gold paint representing like the pain of blood. And I like the idea of not using red. I like the idea of the gold represents this like heavenly, faith-filled attachment, and the fact that it's now bleeding from your back. There were a lot of interpretations for that. But the reason I'm even talking about this rant is when thinking about making art, I think it's also important to include little details that you might have more significance to you that the audience may never know. So like one of the big things that I included were the hands that are holding the scissors and the hands that are being held in front of you. I originally thought I should draw them older because they're representing like parents. But then I was like, no, they should definitely be my own hands, because as a gay person, sometimes we allow other people to make us believe, if we're going to heaven or not, or all those type of stuff. But I like the idea that the only person that can actually take our wings from us is ourselves in the end. Like, yeah, there's a lot of external pressure for sure, and that's sometimes insurmountable. I can definitely acknowledge that. But we are the ones doing a lot of the damage to ourselves. So I like the idea that it was my own hands holding it in front of the angel. And then the other thing, let me see if I have it. No, it's on the other one. But essentially, I did like I said, I didn't want a clean cut on the back of where the wings were chopped off. But I think just the more you think of an idea and the more you work with a piece, oftentimes new ideas will come up while you're working. So when people ask me, where do I find inspiration or what happens when you get an art block, I always tell them, like, you just have to work through it, because sometimes your ideas and inspiration will come because of, the new lines you're laying down, or the relationship you have with the drawing deepens. It's almost like you're expecting a masterpiece before you even put the pencil to paper. And it's like a lot of the times I'm not even thinking about the piece until I'm like physically working on it. And once I'm diving into the piece, all of a sudden that's where the ideas and inspirations come from, because then I'm like, oh, this reminds me of this. Oh, this reminds me of this. And then I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. Oh, that's an interesting idea. So just know if you're having an art block, sometimes you just need to work through it. And maybe if that doesn't stick with you or that doesn't seem to resonate with you, draw something. My old roommate, Ashley Erickson, talked about this a lot. Cloverkin online. She talked about how you should have like comfort drawings. So figure out what you genuinely enjoy drawing the most. And if you're having a hard day, if you're having an art block, draw that. Like for me, I love organic design. I love drawing faces. I love drawing hands. I love drawing like creatures that are more in the fantastical realm. So those will be like my comfort zone, my safety blanket. So if ever I'm having an off day and I just need inspiration, it's like, okay, well, rather than, just going through an art block and committing to that, because once you commit to it in your mind, it's very hard to draw, because then you've already committed to, well, I can't draw today. I'm going through an art block. So instead, I think it's better to instead focus your energy on what you do feel comfortable drawing with that day. Oh my gosh, I'm doing so much talking. Okay. Like I said, I'm just really excited. I'm in a really good mood. Okay. So when I'm looking at the star and what I want to capture, actually, you know what? Let me look at comments. Sorry. I'm going to be talking so much I forget to look at comments. Barbara, hey Barbara. Hoi everyone, taking a short break from drawing this month. Would you mind sharing some of your tarot sources? I'm always searching for different explanations. Yes, you know what? We were this close to making a full tarot card video for YouTube, and we ended up scrapping it because the camera that was recording me drawing temperance, it wasn't the best. But if you want, on our Discord, which by the way, anyone can join it below, I have a link to our Discord community. After the stream's over, I will link you I think I have 4 websites. I have 5 YouTubers, and then I have 6 books. And I will share all of them for you. So yeah, thank you for asking. Well, thank you guys. It was a really, I don't know. I just really enjoyed working on it. Oh, and then yes, Josh is in the stream. So the piece is very much originated with Josh. So he was the inspiration behind the drawing. Okay. So when I look at the star and when I think about drawing it, I'm a big sucker for center framed illustrations, if you can't tell from the ones that I've done so far. But for the star, I definitely want the 8-pointed star above her. And you know what? I might go through a few different iterations of this, because I found out apparently the 7 smaller stars represent the 7 chakras. And it's funny because when I see this image, I think of the main star representing 10 and the 7 smaller stars representing 7. And that's why it's the 17th card in the major arcana. So like my first interpretation was just like super objectable. And I guess in tarot, that would be like a very masculine way of looking at it. It's very like, I need to see it to believe it kind of feeling. And I like the idea of it representing the chakra. So I think I might do like a ring of stars behind her. Now that I'm thinking about it though, it might be a little difficult with 7 because there's going to be an imbalance and I want her head to be in the center. You know what? I might make her kneeling. I was going to make her standing at first, but maybe I shouldn't take away from the visual of her kneeling out of it. Let me see here. Like I said, today is going to be a very explorative day with sketching. So you're going to hear me talk out loud my thoughts and what the process is behind the illustration. So if it seems a little chaotic, that is why. And apparently the reason for the 8-star or the 8-pointed star is apparently it's supposed to represent purity. Because otherwise my stars would look pretty normal. 1, 2, 3. Although I think they need to be smaller too. And for a lot of you that might be wondering, wait, I thought you draw traditionally. I do. These are just like my digital thumbnails. I like to have everything kind of spaced out and set before I go into pencil, because if I go into pencil and I don't like the spacing, or if I want to, change something, it's very difficult at that point to do it. Because once I commit to the pencil stage of the illustration, I really gotta like commit to it. I'll definitely make some changes, but I notice myself feeling far more inclined to be working intuitively or with the flow when I'm working digitally than I am sometimes working traditionally. Let's see here. How do you, Curse Fetus asks, how do you take compliments and internalize them so they can help out your self-security? Ooh, whenever someone gives me a compliment, I try to pass it through a filter of, does this register as true or not? And if it is true, then I definitely take it to heart. If it just feels like they're sugarcoating it or they're complimenting me just to compliment, then it doesn't stick to me. But something actually from reading, what was it? It was the 4th agreement, I believe, in the book, or no, the 2nd agreement. I read this book called The 4 Agreements, and the 2nd agreement, I believe it was the 2nd one, was don't take things personally. And they were like, it's really easy to say that about the negative stuff, but you should also do that with the positive stuff. So yes, it feels great to be told like you're really pretty, or you're really smart, or whatever compliment you can think of. But what the book is trying to explain is that while yes, it's nice to hear that, you're allowing someone else to identify who you are. So you're giving the power to see yourself into someone else's hands. Now, mind you, often, most of the time, when someone's complimenting you, that's not the purpose behind it. But you have to recognize that you're allowing someone else to have that power. So my new way of looking at it is, if anyone compliments me, I just say thank you. And I almost don't take it to heart either way, because I feel I have a pretty good sense, or at least I like to think I have a pretty good sense of who I am. And I try not to have that be affected by what other people tell me. So if someone else says, oh, you're really good at drawing, that's the best piece you've ever done, very nice, and I'm sure they have really good intentions, but in my mind I'm like, you know what, I think it's an okay drawing. I think there are things that could have been improved upon, but I really enjoyed it conceptually. So I have to like remind myself of what I believe to be true about it, and then try to take what they say as like a nice gesture, but I try not to internalize it, if that makes sense. And once again, I give long answers for even short questions, so sorry if I do that. Also, thank you, Tijal. Thank you. We love you and choose you and celebrate you, and we can all spread our wings together and fly off into the sunset. I'm assuming that's to Josh. Yeah, Josh is a wonderful human being, and I'm glad that people have connected with him so much. And you'll see him on the Discord community. We're here every day, and actually that's one of our goals, is to interact at least twice every day. So not only check it, but then also interacting every day. So you'll see us definitely way more on there. Okay, let's see here. I want to do... So there's also this tree in the background, and apparently sitting in it is, I believe it's a red ibis. Let me double check this though. It is... I can't find where I wrote it down. Okay, even though I can't, I put it somewhere here. But anyways, the bird in the background, apparently it's an Egyptian bird, and the reason that it's included in the original card, and it looks kind of ugly in the actual Rider Waite deck. People always comment that it looks very goofy and cartoony, but the bird itself has a very hook-shaped beak, and it sits on the edge of the water. And the reason it's included in this card is because when it fishes for food, it doesn't like wildly go in for an attack in the water. It will sit there and wait, and then it like does like a dip in the water and it catches its food. So it's very precise. And the meaning behind it is it's very intentional. So yes, while it's, waiting and it looks like it's not doing a lot, it's actually doing a lot of the work because it's allowing time to pass for like the perfect opportunity. And it's supposed to reflect that for this card's meaning is there is hope. There's always a sense that it will go in your favor as long as you allow it to. So that's why the bird's included, and I definitely want that represented in my card as well. Because with most of the tarot cards, I'm very much heavily relying on the tarot or the Rider Waite interpretation of the visuals, but I think they had such poignancy that I don't want to lose them if it really connects with me. And almost everything that is in the Rider Tarot, or I keep calling it Rider Waite deck, in the way that it's illustrated, I really connect with, and that's why I'm doing a very almost direct interpretation of the deck. I think eventually I'll do my own Oracle deck, and that will be more like my interpretations, but I really want to stay true to the Rider Waite for this deck specifically. I might even make her a little higher up there. I go back and forth on if she's going to be naked. There are some times where I'm like, oh yeah, it's representative of the card and purity, blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't care if there's like a small cloth covering, some of, I don't know. I go back and forth on that. So I'm just kind of giving a quick sketch to the body. Show the foot receding into the background. I mean, it would be kind of a cool connection if I did the same pool in Temperance. Although I would have to think of why, like what would be the meaning behind that. Because if I ever make decisions that stray from the original card, there has to be a purpose or a reason behind it. You know what? Maybe it won't be the same spot that Temperance is in, because if you see, it has that same kind of like water and land where the water kind of dips up a little bit. Maybe I'll allude to it. I like the idea of alluding to it without it actually being a direct copy of it. And this was before the path was built, because in Temperance there's a path behind the angel, and the idea is if you follow the path of Temperance, you'll achieve enlightenment, and that's why the path leads to a golden crown floating in the sky. But in the star, there is no path, and the meaning behind it is you are so focused on what you are doing, and in this case, it's like a meditative practice. You're so focused on the meditation that you're not looking about where the future's taking you. You're very present in the moment. So it'd be kind of cool if I did an allusion to Temperance that has the path, but then this one, it's more overgrown, it's more natural. It doesn't have that clean cut edge like Temperance does, as if it's just still the way that nature gave it. Rather than in Temperance, I felt like it was a very man-made path, and even the pool was a very man-made separation between land and water. Where here, I kind of like the idea of the water and the land kind of approaching one another like a pond naturally would. So we'll see. Let's see here. Barbara says you could maybe draw a type of sheer cloth to allude to her nakedness and still have her covered up. Actually, I think that sounds more right to me. We'll see. Tijal says, if you are going to draw her naked, I wouldn't choose that pose. She's going to be kind of spread eagle. I think if I did do this pose, I'll have some kind of a flowing cloth that like comes under her arm and like covers her. And you know what's funny is a lot of this card is about not having that insecurity and being vulnerable and pert, and yet I still have the, you know, current culture influence telling me I can't do that, like I have to cover her up. And it's this interesting push and pull of me aligning with like current views on how we display women, and especially like I've never made my women explicit or sexualized. They've always been very grandiose and ethereal, and I want to continue representing, especially in my tarot deck, I definitely want them to have that sensibility. But it is interesting that when it comes to fully nude, I personally would rather them be nude, but I think because of the sensibilities of our culture, I don't want it to be seen as graphic or shocking. Not that I don't think it would, but I agree, in this pose, even though it shouldn't be explicit, it's just a woman kneeling. I totally understand what you mean, and that's something that I do have to consider. So I could turn her maybe a little bit. We'll see how I'm feeling with it. And that's the beauty of doing thumbnails. We can kind of explore the different options we have. Babs, hey, Babs is here. Babs Web, if you don't know her art, you definitely should. I believe it's just Babs Web on Instagram. Correct me if I'm wrong, but go give this account a follow. If you like my art, you're bound to like Babs's art. It is incredible. I think she's one of the best artists alive today, and it's always inspiring. She works with powder graphite, which I think is a very difficult medium, and she just does it with ease. So thank you, Babs, for stopping by. Sigil says, what about a white thin dress but is completely wet so you can kind of see through it but folds in the right places to keep it classy? It is a tough call. I do want her nude for the most part, and if there is anything covering her we'll say sensible parts, I think I might have cloth that's like flowing in the wind so she's not even wearing it, because I like the idea that she doesn't feel the need to wear clothing. She's super vulnerable, and it's the core and essence of who they are, and she's not embarrassed to be nude. And like you can definitely cheat it, like you see in the old Renaissance paintings where like a cherub angel will like, you know, gracefully pass by with a thin veiled fabric, just you know, small enough and a sliver enough to cover the actual areas that might be considered too explicit. But we'll see. Like I said, I'm gonna do some different thumbnails here. The other thing that I might like about being turned is I think I'd be able to showcase the well, maybe not actually. If I had the jug maybe more down. Because I really like the idea of the water that she's flowing into the land splitting into the 5 rivulets. I don't know why that word sounds so foreign to me. It's like I can't even speak English. Rivulets. And I think this tree needs to be way higher. This needs to be way up here. Some mountains in the background. And something that I'm trying to do with all my major arcana cards is I want there to be this otherworldly flow to them. I think the Hermit is the only one that has the fabric very much draped in a very still life manner, but Temperance has this very like unnatural flow essence to it. And the way that we captured it is we actually took a reference picture of Josh in the back room, but he was laying on the ground. So the fabric was on the ground, but I like that it looked kind of like it was floating in the air, but it had this unnaturalness to it. And I like that because I think with things that are beyond our level of understanding, I like that to be represented in the major arcana, because arcana just is a word for secret, and major secret. So I like the idea that it's just a very hard thing to understand, kind of like a very secret or a very big secret. Oh, hi, Casper. And look who joined us. Hi. You want to say hi to the people? This is my lovely, beautiful black cat, Casper. Me and Josh adopted him, I think, 2 years ago now. He was found outside in the winter in Wisconsin, so it was like freezing cold. And he somehow survived, and it was my best friend's mom found him. And it was funny because 2 months before that, I really wanted my own cat because Josh has a calico. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to have my own cat. And then, Astrid can have a play friend. And then I was like, but if we get a cat, I really want a male black cat. It was like I was very specific with what kind of a cat I wanted. And then my best friend's mom happens to stumble upon one behind her house, like huddling under I believe it was the heating unit. And he was just by himself, just one little black kitten, and he somehow survived in the dead of winter in Wisconsin. And then Kat's mom pulled it in after like 4 or 5 days of, checking in on the cat, because Casper is very squeamish. So I can understand he was probably hiding pretty well from her mom. And then one day she was able to grab him. And then they were like, hey, Tim, do you still want that black cat? And here we are today. Right, Casper? That's your origin. That's your story. That's your mythos. He's a very good cat, though. Like, literally the best thing ever. Okay, I'll open the window for you for a little bit, but just for a little bit. There we go. All right. He'll be satisfied for a while. Barbara says, or you can turn her position even more so that her right leg is covering her kneeling leg. That way you can focus on drawing her naked without showing too much. Oh, that's a good idea. I wonder if, let me copy that and redo that then. Yeah, even if we just turned her like, not a lot, just a little bit. And then, of course, the water that's coming out of the jug, I want it to have those deep ripples so that you can't see a reflection in the pond. Because I really like that interpretation of you're taking all sense of vanity or ego out of the card. And it's really just meditative on maybe not even ego death, but just on like what's to come, trusting intuition. I mean, this is definitely more of a faith-ish card, not in the sense of like religious, but in the sense that like the universe has got your back, and if you lean into it, you'll see that anything that you wanted to achieve is within your grasp. You just have to kind of lean into that, which can be very difficult to do. So in this leg, oh, you know what I don't like about that though is I'm covering the rivulets. These silly rivulets. You know, there is still, I don't know, there's something about the front view that I still like, but I definitely need to rework it a little bit. But what I was mentioning about the flowing fabric is I might do a little bit of that with the fabric covering herself, but then also her hair. I love the idea of her hair being this beautiful long flowing thing. And I almost wonder if I might do this on a new layer just in case I hate what I'm about to do. But I might have the hair pulled back behind her And maybe even possibly some of the hair in front, because that could also cover herself. Let me see what it looks like to have this very flowy long hair first. I mean, I could have the hair come in front of the body to conceal it, but I feel like that might look also very strange. No, now we're getting crazy. I don't like that. I thought I might. I do not. I think I do like the idea of it being very long though. It may be like draped behind her a bit, but I don't like it being this floaty mess. Do you kind of see? Oh, you know what? I'll zoom in. I didn't realize how far away I was from the picture there. Hello, hello. I was given a little angel in the form of a black kitty. Yeah, definitely. Casper is the best. Like, whatever I could want from a cat, I think I get from Casper. It's just, I love him. I guess I could have a couple strands of hair in front to cover the nipples, but I don't know. I'm a little conflicted about it. I almost feel like I want to show her nudity because it's supposed to be a reflection of her strength and feeling vulnerable without it feeling vulnerable, if that makes sense. You know what? I actually kind of like the jug being lower. Like the other one can be very high, but then this one's very low. Hmm. Maybe I do like the side angle better. Yeah, maybe I do like the side angle better. Let me give that a try again. Let's see where we get here. Let me see if I like the hair, because if she's turned, I could have the hair be more in front. No, mind you, this is very rough. I definitely will have to come back and clean this up quite a bit for proportions and whatnot. But we're still trying to just get a read on how this looks. Because I could just have, I guess, one of her boobs out. And the other one is just oh so perfectly censored by the hair. I don't hate that. I kind of like the direction we're heading in here. So let's see here. What I normally do then is like, I usually do a few passes on my thumbnails just to see how I'm liking them. If there's things I need to change. I guess something I should look at, there's always a number with the majors on the top. And I believe when I do my own deck, these will be gold plated. So I'll make sure that the position of the number I'm taking into account here. Because what I could do, the number either has to be within the star or it has to be above the star. Because the dilemma is if I put the star where it is now, it's going to be crossing awkwardly over the numbers. And I don't think I want that. I think I want the star right under the number. And then even for the star itself, I might make this a little bit more grandiose. I like to have fun with decadence, and I'm definitely a fan of maximalism. So I might push this star a little bit, not quite into the gaudy territory, but kind of that direction. It's like an idea of like these little strands kind of coming off of it. A says it's honestly kind of sad that a lot of people have to consider things like the algorithm in their art. I wonder how many pieces it's subconsciously changed. Oh, I would not doubt that that number is very high. I think a lot of people unfortunately take into account how social media, how their art's going to be reflected in social media and make changes because of that. I would have no doubt that that has happened many times. You know, even with these little stars, I might even give them just a little bit of a flare. Because these are the major cards, you know? We got to give them a little bit of a something something. And I'm going to grab the shape tool. I'm just going to create a circle. Not with any fill though. That way I can kind of follow an edge or a line for these stars to follow. Say like there, yeah. AS, is anyone else doing their very useful and not at all procrastinating Pinterest inspiration scrolling? I really do hope that like while I'm streaming, people are doing their actual work or like drawing or whatever it is. it takes a lot of pressure off of me because then I don't feel like I have to entertain. It's very much like oh, we're just, we're working at the same time. You're working, I'm working, we're both getting things done. It's all good. Let's see how that looks. We're gonna flip it. Now let's take that half circle out. Yeah, I think I like that better. I might even lower them actually. Maybe I did kind of like them where they were. Yeah, I kind of like that actually. Okay, and then obviously I'll go ham on the center star. I mean, it'd be kind of cute if these were like shooting stars off of the center one. You know what, let me see what that looks like. And if any of you are wondering, yes, this is usually my process is a lot of me telling myself like, oh, that might be kind of fun. Let's test it out. And then me testing it out. And then half the time, usually liking it. The other half, very much no. And that is my artistic process. I do believe I'm a big believer in you won't know if you don't test it. So if there's an idea that you have in your head, like, oh, I think this would fit really well for this theme or whatever it is you're doing, try it out. You never know. So I think my least favorite part of an art process is doing something or not doing something, having an idea and then not doing something about it, and then regretting it when I see the finished result, being like, oh, this would look so much better if I would have committed to doing X, Y, Z. Okay, but why else was I excited? I was really excited about The Boy and the Heron because not only is it Miyazaki, but I didn't see any trailers for this, and like I said, I'm gonna do I'm pretty good at not giving away spoilers, so don't worry if you want to see it. I'm not gonna be the one to ruin your experience. It was very different than what you would expect from a typical Ghibli film, and I think a lot of people left because I read a lot of people were like upset with the film or disappointed, but I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was so good. It definitely, I feel like, caters to people that have possibly done psychedelics in the past because it's very disjointed. It's very dreamy. And actually, kind of like the card we're doing today, it's very watery. Things are coming at you constantly in the film without a real sense of purpose. And it's kind of up to the viewer to interpret whether something sticks or not, or if it engages with you in a way that you feel makes sense with what is happening on screen. And it constantly is doing this. And I was 100% there for it. By the end of it, Josh and I we were crying, and I couldn't even tell you why I was crying. I think I was just so wrapped up in it, and I just felt the emotion and a lot of what was happening. And then afterwards, we got home and we started talking about it, and we also just couldn't help it. We were just crying because I think a lot of it is very. I can't give it away though. I'll just say it's very interpretable and it's definitely existential on a lot of levels, and I think it deals with the questions of life and death in a very Miyazaki dreamlike, watery state and flow, which I love it. Love, love, love. So highly recommend. And it was literally coming off of the heels of seeing Saltburn. We watched it last Saturday with a couple friends, and Saltburn was super weird. There were definitely some shocking moments. I don't know if I would recommend that one to everyone, but I would still say it was a good watch and something that I appreciate because I like weird. Usually you get like bonus points in my book, even though I try to stay unbiased when I watch movies. But if you go for something abstract or interpretable, I usually will tend to like it more. And I think I have to be honest with myself. I do think I rate films higher if they explore that strange nuance in film. We don't see it often, so when I do see it, it's like a gift. And it's funny because I was just telling Josh how there's another movie called The Poor Things, and that just came out as well. And I'm like, we also need to see this one because this one's supposed to be super weird and interpretable and just exactly the type of movie that I'm into. So yeah, just a lot of good happening lately. Yeah, you know what? I like her pose being slightly tilted. Thank you, Barbara. I think that was a good suggestion with keeping it slightly true to the original card. I think that slight tilt gives it kind of an elegance that it was definitely lacking, as Tijal was saying, with the straight on pose. And now, mind you, for placement and like proportions and stuff of the body, I definitely am gonna do a photo shoot and get these proportions be more accurate so I can see all the subtleties that I'm missing with a very quick sketch like this. She'd be holding it probably almost straight down. I think even with these pots, I'm gonna really do some research on like a really ornate yet classy jug that can pour the water in like a I like jugs that have a lip at the end that pour in a very like straight line. But if there's some way I can get a more ornate looking um, container, that would be great. So I'll probably do some of my research looking for a jug that just like feels ethereal, if that makes sense. I might even go to a thrift store and just do some browsing. And then once again, the ripples are going to be across the entirety of the water that we can see. And then her foot is almost balancing right on top of the water. You can't really tell if her foot's she's like putting any weight on it or if it's this like otherworldly thing happening right there. The other beautiful part about digital obviously is liquefy. So whenever the body is looking a little weird, I mean, even in this stage, I still want it to feel somewhat proportional. It doesn't always work. Sometimes I need to like do a few passes, and I think reference can really help with that. And I have a really bad habit of being way too tight on my drawings in the early stages, and I know I should be working more with my elbow and my whole arm. That way it's not as tight. Okay, and then this jug. Oh, you know what? Maybe. No, this will still work. Okay. Like I said, there would be a lot of talking to myself on a stream like today. Because when I'm exploring, I never know what is going to sit right on the page or in the composition until I actually lay it out. It'd be kind of fun if I made her hair long enough that it almost creates this like veil appearance. And it's kind of hard to tell in the card. I might make her eyes closed, actually. There's something about being in a meditative state where you're closing your eyes. I like that. So I might have that captured here as well. Tigel is saying this one seems very Tim-esque. Oof! Yeah, actually, Tigel nailed it. This is the jug that Tigel found, or I don't even know what you'd call it. It's a vessel, a container. I feel like jug sounds so crude. This is gorgeous, yes. So I think doing this kind of elaborateness on these containers, vessels. Actually, I'm going to save that one. Tigel, I might use that as reference then. When I love long hair, I feel like hair is definitely one of my favorite things to draw. When we were talking about comfort zone drawings earlier, hair is, I just love it. I love its stringiness, its flow. It can create, especially blowing in the wind, it creates such a dynamicism, or is that a word? Dynamics? That's not a word. Just a cool composition. And I love the ability to play with that. So I think I'm going to definitely give her really long hair. I got to be careful where I don't want it to look like a Christian symbol with like Mother Mary, because there's already the famous, what's it called? The Pieta, the one where she's holding dead Jesus, with, you know, she's in that position where she's kneeled over. I think she's sitting and has the veil. So I definitely need to make the hair look like hair, but I only want it to kind of reflect a veil. But I don't want it to be a veil. There's a difference. Okay, there's something going on here. And then in the background, I definitely want it to feel very, just like a field of lush. I'll have to look into, not a lot of the sources that I found said exactly what these flowers were. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of deep dive digging into what exactly the flowers are in this card. Because I definitely want them represented, but I want to know what type of flower they are and why. Oh, and even the rivulet, I just realized I could easily have 3 on this side and then 2 on the other side, so that way the foot doesn't interfere with the direction of one of them. Sorry, sometimes when I talk, if I'm streaming, I can only do too much of one at a time, if that makes sense. Where's the... Oh, hey, Oscar, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Just finished practice, heading home on my scooter now. Well, welcome, welcome. I'm drawing the Star Tarot card, or doing my initial thumbnails for it. Whenever I draw women that are just ethereal and otherworldly, I don't know why, but it really is a giant comfort zone for me. I feel like you're capturing the beauty of the female form without sexualizing it. And I don't want to say that there's not a lot of that out there, because there definitely is, but there's a lot of women depicted in a very, I don't even want to say sensual manner, because it's not. Well, no, some of them are. I mean, a lot of them are very much like, you know, there's an objectable reason why someone is drawing a woman the way they are. But I've always wanted my women to feel beautiful without them being sexy, if that makes sense. And I'm not like purposely trying to make them unappealing. But I think there's something about capturing the female form in a way that feels it is meant to be admired and respected, but not touched. I don't know. Maybe this is too much of a deep dive into what I'm thinking about when I draw women, but there is something about, and it probably helps that I am gay, so like there's nothing really for me that I would be like, yes, I want to make sure that this part of the woman is displayed in this way because blah 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 blah. No, for me, I always saw the female form as just ethereal, just very beautiful. Oh, I think I'm gonna really like this card the more I'm looking at it, because I can imagine there being like a nice gradation from dark to light, going from the grass here and then going back, and then her body having just slight rendering on it, but then her hair having a gradation, maybe actually from dark to light from the top of her head, where it's like slightly darker up here, and then as it goes down, it gets lighter. Working with grayscale, you always have to be thinking about contrast, and especially with black and white, you're thinking of, okay, where do I want the areas of interest? So for me, obviously centered here, maybe a little bit up here, obviously, and then maybe on each of the vessels that she's holding. But I love center framing everything, so I'm gonna have a lot of high contrast here. So in my mind, subconsciously, sometimes even, I'm thinking, okay, the mountains then have to be like a neutral mid-gray. And actually, I'll kind of show you what I'm thinking in my mind right now. Because whenever I do line art, I'm always kind of also doing values in my head, but I don't like actually draw them. I just think about them. So I'm going to show you kind of what my mind's thinking right now. So then this will be darker. So it really makes her body stand out amongst the ground, and then same with the water that's pouring out of the jugs. Because if I'm ever playing with negative space, it's almost always intentional. It's always very much, I want the viewer to be looking here, or I want there to be a separation between form. And with like these little rivulets, it would be very difficult to see if it was all mid-tone. So I'm going to make each of the water parts very light in value, almost pure white probably. And then the area around it, this mid-tone, kind of actually more on the darker tone as well. And then the hair, like I said, I think I'm gonna do a nice fun gradient going from the hair down. And then that way, I kind of want to include little stars. I mean, definitely is like a 1920s Hollywood glamour, like including little tinsel stars in the hair. But I think that would just be a nice contrast and another reflection of the star, but have more of like a fashionable moment with it. And then the background will fade from that darker gray into a lighter gray until it hits that mountain. This backdrop here, originally, oh, that's what I was gonna do. The original card, it almost looks like it's daytime. I'm gonna make this a nighttime card. And I know I said I was gonna try to stick pretty close to the original Rider-Waite, but for me, I can't imagine a night scene or a star being the most prominent imagery in the picture during the day, unless if it's the sun, obviously. Different star. I remember what I was gonna do. I'm gonna make the hair go from light to dark, or I might just make it all white and really frame her out. But then the background, kind of like what I did on the Hermit, and that's the reason I have this card on the edge referenced, is I want this whole backdrop to be a nighttime value. And then I think if I do this right, I'm going to make the river or the pond or whatever she's kneeling in front of look like it's glowing. And that's what's giving her such a light radiance to her body. Let's see if I can cover this up. And that that value cuts the card in half then. I'm literally creating a very prominent slice in this piece. And this is how, if you're working with pencils or pens and you don't plan on adding color, you almost have to be thinking this way, to be honest, because if you're not, your values might look really muddled and disjointed when you finish. So it's better to think about your values before you go into pencils. And I say this, but I don't always do this either myself. It's very much like a do what I say, not what I do. Because sometimes I get so excited about something, I'll just jump right into it. And then afterwards, I'll be like, ugh, I could have saved myself like 5 hours if I would have just laid out my values in the thumbnail first. So like that. So you can see how these stars then will stand out so much more against this. It's not even that dark of a backdrop, to be honest. I'm doing a lot of my nighttime scenes with a very neutral gray. It's not that dark, but I like the subtle contrast. Like that. And then honestly, knowing me, I'll probably do some kind of a glow from the center. Something like that. And I'll do it possibly with powdered graphite. And then that way I can actually reverse, or maybe actually no, I'd probably keep it this way. I was going to reverse the values on the ground, but I'm actually liking how they look. So I might just make them a bit darker, and that might help frame her out more. Something like this. Oh, I covered up the bird in the tree. Oops. Okay, obviously I would bring back the bird in the tree too. I'm gonna grab the eraser tool really quick just to bring them back. Bring back my birds. Looks like I said, I really like the reasoning for including the red ibis bird, and I want to make sure that that stays in there. And then this will be a real technical test of doing these ripples, because if I do this right, I want to make the water look like it's glowing, and this is going to be, this isn't even like a creative challenge. This is definitely going to be one of those technical challenges. And I think when you see artists that are known for realism, and I don't think I'm known for realism by any means, but there are moments where I recognize that this isn't necessarily like a creative challenge. It's very much, I need to look at references of ripples in water. I need to make sure that I'm capturing it in a way that reflects it so that it gives off that impression. I think I really should ask Miles. Miles Johnson is one of the best pencil artists alive, and he does rippling water a lot. So I might be like, hey, can you just point me in the right direction here? Because he does a very, very good job at mixing and blending hyper realism with these very high conceptual pieces, which is always fun to look at. Yeah, something like that. So the final card will have obviously way better, but this type of a look. I'm not crazy about the negative space over here. That's something I could heighten possibly. What I might do. Let's see how it looks. Because like I said, whenever you're questioning something, just do a quick sketch out of what that idea is. That way you know whether or not you'll like it. So for me, I'm going to grab the landmass and the tree if possible. Was the tree on another layer? Since I'm so bad at naming my layers, sometimes it takes me just a second to find what it is I drew. Let's take that tree. I might make it smaller and then lift it up here. I feel like this would be a better cut. Yeah, I feel like that it just feels better to me. Let's see. Sometimes what I'll do when I'm working, I'll do what I call back and forths. So I'll just see what it looked like before and after. Okay, so this was before. Oh, is it really gonna do that on me? Hold on. Oh my goodness, hold on. Ugh, I mean, there is something about it being shoulder length that I kind of like. Although there is something about the visual of the head being the placement where it's like splitting. And there's almost like a focus directed at the head. But do I like that better than it being at the shoulders? What do you guys think? Do you like it better at the shoulders? Or do you like the line being at the... I guess I could go a little lower and do just at the eyesight. Maybe that's what we'll do here. Like right there. It doesn't have to be much, just a little bit. Because I'm definitely a big fan of spacing, and things have to have like a certain amount of space away from one another. I feel like I just need to redo that tree altogether. Because I think also including more like flowers and foliage leading up to the tree might help that. All right, I'm liking how this is looking. Oh, hey, Felix. Hello, hello. Sorry I'm late. Post-convention fridge restock. Very understandable. I feel like me and Josh always take, for sure, the Monday after a con, we usually try to take off. I mean, Josh will probably joke that I don't actually take off and that I secretly work without him knowing sometimes. But it usually takes a few days to like reconfigure and get groceries again. So totally get it. You know, there's a part of me that almost wants to work more with these quote unquote rivulets. Something almost wants me to like play with the idea of extending them out very far. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of these cutting into the scenery. if that fully works. I don't know. I feel like that might be more of a distraction. Yeah, I think I like the simplicity, especially when I look at it on my second monitor. I like how it looks there. Okay, let's flip it just to see how it's looking. Oh, I gotta flip the whole image. That's right. Hi. Yeah, proportions are a little wonk, but that can definitely be fixed after I get some reference pictures. I think visually, though, I think I like what we did here. I like the center frame, of course. I like the concealed nudity. And I like the placement of the stars. The only thing, I might bring like this one more out here, possibly. I mean, there is something about it being like a perfect half ring. You know what though? I actually want to do, let's see here. Because knowing me, I'll do one more pass before I would go into the traditional realm. And honestly, I never add values on my thumbnails like I'm doing today. This was very much just for the stream. I almost like the idea of them being more centralized in an actual circle around the main circle. I mean, it's going to look a little weird because of the grays, but let's see here. I am curious if I like the way that this looks better. And if you guys have any opinions, I'm definitely open. I'm definitely not one of those artists that are like, no, it's my interpretation of the highway. I think I like this better. Let me see it before and after. I mean, obviously I'll do quite a bit of cleanup as well. Yeah, I think I do like this better. Weirdly enough, though, if I do this, then for some reason, I don't know why I'm okay with it, I think I also then would want to include a bunch of like little stars. I mean, it is my tarot card, so I can do kind of whatever I want, but like I said, I like staying somewhat true to the original deck. I just feel like I've always liked a good starry night, and I feel like a piece called the star, or the tarot card the card, or the tarot card the star, should have a lot of stars in it. Let me see what that looks like the other way again. Yeah, I think I'm keeping the small stars. I just like it visually, and it still has the significance of the bigger stars, blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. Digital, you are gay. I'm unsubscribing and unfollowing. How dare you? I'm telling you, that typically happens whenever I post something about it. But that's okay, because then they weren't following you for the right reasons. Felix, I think I would like it at the neck. Really? See, I just had it there, and now I'm like questioning. But I like. Do you like the in between? I think I like the in between. That's kind of where I put it. Lowered like that looks good. Oh, well, thank you, everyone. Workaholic, kind of. Felix, that's my boyfriend though. He tells me to take days off, then reminds me of all the projects I wanted to finish before a big convention coming up. Yeah, it's tough when you have so many ideas and you can see so many of them working that you're just like, oh, I can just work on all of them if I split my day up like this and blah, 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 blah. So I get it. I can't even fault you for it because I tend to do that as well. Give her a bob and bangs. No. I don't know if you'll ever see me draw a character with a bob and a bangs. No offense if anyone has one watching this, but I'm not the biggest fan of it visually. uh, for me, I love, like I said, flowing hair. I've been a big fan of curly hair, which is funny because in high school, I mean, I hate my hair. I think I have like a bird's nest of a hair type, and I would always draw characters with straight hair only. And then only in the past like 3-ish years that like shifted completely. Now I love drawing curly haired characters. And I think it just became more of like, maybe, who knows? I'm talking very off the cuff right here, but maybe subconsciously I became more comfortable with curly hair and more of like accepting of my own hair type. And then I've just been adding that into my pieces as like a reflection that maybe I'm not even aware of. I don't know. Either way, I really like curly hair now, and a lot of my characters, you'll notice, have some kind of a wave or hair that's overlapping, and yeah, it's been a good journey of going from straight hair only to any type of hair. I like any type of hair now. Just let me draw hair. That's all I really want. Oh, guys, I think this card is gonna be really stunning if I can do it right. Because I don't draw a lot of nighttime scenes, but I think with playing with contrast and especially letting that water be like almost a pure white, I could definitely see this card having the uh, illusion or the visual of it glowing, and I think that would be really pretty. Okay. Let's see here. I still have a half hour. Man, I thought this thumbnail would take me much longer. Sometimes I just have a habit of yabbering, and I don't get a lot done, but I actually like what we did today. Because you got to remember, for a thumbnail, I'm not trying to take it too far, and I can't really do too much to the body until I get a reference picture. And I'll probably have me or Josh be in that position. Obviously, we're not naked women, but I can usually alter the physicality to match what I need, but I need the proportions and then the subtleties that sometimes are just harder to mimic without reference. Yeah, I love her having some kind of a star thing in her hair. What can I do on the stream here? What can I do? Maybe I'll give a little bit more of an outline to what's going on. But maybe I will end today a little earlier. I'll do like maybe like 10, 15 more minutes. How about that? I really thought this thumbnail was going to take way longer. But how are you guys doing? Maybe I could just talk to you guys for a little bit too. Let's see here. Oscar says maybe composition too symmetrical. Nope. I am the biggest sucker for symmetry. I love a good center framed image. It can be a bad habit, but if I can help it, I'm gonna put it in a center frame. Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, you're saying all the things I don't like. Yeah, make her bald, give her a beard, give her glasses. Digital says maybe one of the water streams out of the jug should go back into the pond. I think that happens on the card as well. Oh, you're right. I think. I know the original card's hard to tell with. I think you're talking about this rivulet here, but you can't really tell if it like stops right before or if it actually does connect into the pond. You know what? I will look into that, because if that is the case, it would be really easy to turn this one back into the pond. You know, I will look into that. Good observation, Tijal. I like that. Felix says, I feel like maybe the leg is too straight down, like the negative space in between the leg is too much of a straight rectangle. Yeah, probably. Like I said, I think the pose I'll need the reference for. I might even have my friend Kat do it because women legs tend to have a little bit of a different look to them than a masculine leg would. I could even kind of reshape that with the hair too, where like the hair could kind of drape messily on the leg as it comes down. But I think this leg would definitely have to be thicker. I think this leg has to come out further. Like there's definitely things I'm noticing even a little bit that I can tell without reference where I'm like, this looks a little wrong. But that's the power of reference. Oh wait, what am I doing? I can just use liquify. Oh my, I literally just started treating this like a pencil drawing and I was erasing the leg. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I have a feeling I'm gonna make her upper body a little bigger, lower body pushed down, leg this way. So yeah, if there's any takeaways any of you that are watching can get from the stream, I definitely recommend Boy and the Heron. Be intentional if you're doing more of like personal work or art that is supposed to have like somewhat of a meaning, where everything down to like what type of hands you're using for the piece can have a meaning to it. Ooh, I don't know if I like that liquify pass actually. Well, I liked some of what I did, but I didn't like the whole thing. Let me redo that. Digital says, I'm struggling at the moment. I'm drawing a character with her head down sniffing a flower, but she has a thick braid wrapped around her head, and I can't get the perspective of the braid okay. That can be tricky. Let me show you my trick with braids. Okay, so normally when I'm drawing a braid, actually this is perfect, because I'm like, I need something to draw, but I don't want to keep meddling on a thumbnail. So when I draw a braid, I think of like a triangle back and forth. And I try to have it be pretty sharp, actually. Kind of like the tooth of a saw or something. And then essentially, you take like these little divots, so they kind of look like this shape, and then draw them going up and down. And then, mind you, this is a very rough interpretation, but when you clean it all up, then this will give you that braid illusion. So now what you're trying to do, well, then I also try to make this a little bit more curvy when I do the pencil drawing and then shade it up. Have the shadow kind of recede into these different pockets like that. So this is a standard braid. When you're doing it in 3D, I almost think of it like if you're drawing it around a head, think of it like a halo, and just like I just showed you, have these triangles go around the head, but think of them in like a 3D space, if that makes sense. So then going around, coming back. I mean, I don't know if this just helps because I studied 3D for 3 years, that I now kind of see things in like a 3D space, that I tend to think this way. So just like we did before, same thing. You're going to draw those shapes. Oop, I'm doing it backwards. I was like, why does this not look right? I mean, I guess you could do it that way too, but to each their own. So I usually do like it rough first to kind of give myself an outline. And then as you get to that curve, try to imagine it filling in that space. I feel like I almost need, I feel like I need the yarn in front of me or something, because I feel like this might be more difficult for me to try to explain digital. Because then when you're coming back, same thing, you're still connecting it to those same points, but now you're bulging it out. So a lot of the times you can focus more on what that bulge would look like. And I know that sounds very dirty out of context, but then you can finish the way it wraps around the head. I gotta think of, it would be this way, then this. I also have to like do it visually in my head. And then you'd reconnect on that side again. So my trick is when you get to this part, honestly, just bulge it out and then have like little pockets where you can kind of see it, and then it will look like it's coming around. But this is another one of those scenarios where honestly, if you can just find a really good reference, I would just copy it. Or literally take yarn yourself, like if you don't have long enough hair, take yarn, wrap it around, or do the braid and try to find like a thicker yarn, and then lay it down on a table and take reference pictures. Because oftentimes, like, yeah, we have the idea in our head of what it looks like, but capturing that can be much more difficult. But braids are always a lot of fun. So I hope you find a way of doing that for yourself. Felix says, okay, that makes sense. The pose will look way different with reference. Agreed. By the way, the Melania foil prints did really well at this convention. I don't want to be a copycat, but maybe foil prints will become a thing for me as well. They do well for everyone. I throw metallic sheen on anything, people will want it more. So I didn't create it. You're not copying me. Don't worry. Please gold everything you have. Tijel says, that's such a great way of doing it. Thanks. I also have a very 3D mind thanks to college. This is perfect. I need to make it click in my head. Why is my comments are being cut off here? Make it. It will not let me read it because there's a heart emoji in the way. Need to, I'm assuming, make a click in my head. I think that's what you wrote. Oh, no, I do not want to report Tijel. Thank you. There we go. Okay, so yeah, this is what we're working with. I feel pretty good about it. Actually, as a thumbnail, I do need to take my reference, but then I feel like I can get into penciling it. One of my goals moving into next year is to be more efficient with my drawings. So I think doing thumbnails are great, yes, but don't detail the thumbnail too much. I think I have a bad habit of over rendering a thumbnail. And you can kind of see that with my Knight of Pentacles. I did a pretty good job with him. Now I'm looking at it again. I think I did a good job not over rendering the details on that one. But you don't want to waste a lot of time on a thumbnail unless if it's actually adding value, whether the composition or the values that you're doing, because oftentimes that's where a lot of your efficiency can be lost in the like prep and planning stage, and especially in the initial stage where there's so many ideas and there's so many different outcomes that this illustration can take that it can be overwhelming of, okay, which path do I take? But I'm going to try to be more direct when it comes to my tarot cards of, nope, this is the path I'm taking. I feel strongly about it. I'm going to make it work. And I feel pretty strongly about the way this is looking. I think I need to redo what are we talking about? Proportions a little bit, but that'll come with reference and probably the containers she's holding. I'm going to do them more intricate probably. Although I kind of like the roundness of them. There's something that alludes to like a star far away where it looks like a perfect circle to us. But who knows? That could change as well. Okay, I think I got to end off early today. I feel like I have nothing more to give you on this drawing here. This is definitely my thumbnail stage of this. And then hopefully it'll end up looking something like one of these. And we can add it to the collection because this is card number, I want to say this is card number 25. I just wrote this down too. Let me double check. I think you get to a certain point where you're like, I kind of remember what card I'm on. Okay, this is the 24th. So, okay. The star will be my 24th in the deck, and there's 78 total. So yes, I'm just over a quarter of the way done, but it's still a long way to go. I think part of what slowed me down so much was my indecisiveness with the cards in the past, where I was double guessing everything. I was questioning what I was doing, and I need to be more assertive with, no, this feels right to me. And a lot of what tarot and capturing the essence of tarot is pulling from your like subconscious, does this feel like it's representing well to you, rather than, well, how will someone else interpret it? It's like, well, no, do you enjoy how this looks? So I'm going to rely on that more next year. Okay, I'm going to kind of sign off here, and I'll say once again, we have a Discord community that is ever growing, and we're going to be doing monthly giveaways of free stuff. So if you want to join that and you want to continue our conversation around either art or entertainment or how to make a business with your art, then you can join that below. It's a free Discord to join. And then I have a Patreon where you can see all my behind the scenes of working on new illustrations, my step-by-steps. If I do a YouTube video that Josh edits, we'll post them on there 2 months early before I post them live on YouTube. And you also get a physical reward every season. So every winter, spring, summer, fall. The last one was this Trick or Treat pumpkin coin. It's my first 3-dimensional coin. And I'm currently in the process of making a new 3D coin, and it will be a Time for Bed and one more chapter coin. So it'll be a fun little coin that I'm hoping to have done by the end of the month. And then my Patreon people should be getting it either the end of January, I'll do the cutoff, or the end of February will be the cutoff. So that should be announced in the next couple weeks. And then lastly, I did post my newest reel on Instagram. I'm very proud of it. It's an angel and getting its wings severed off. So if you want to check that out, it is now posted. And I think that's everything. That's everything I got. My new gold prints that will be available in 2024 are on their way. They shipped over, so hopefully I'll be able to take some pictures over the weekend and share them with the Discord. And I think that's, oh, there is one more thing. We have a Discord call tomorrow that is free to join. It's kind of like this, but less formal and less on YouTube. And the idea is, I like the idea of more casual streams where, hey, I have to do this new print design, or I have to make a new coin, or I have to make a new pin, or I'm designing book pages. I'm just here to talk and chat, but it doesn't have to be anything formal, and you guys can join it and talk with me. I'm a big fan of drawing while listening, which is, I know, probably weird for someone with an established following to say, but I actually like listening more than I like talking. So I will just be in there sometimes listening to your guys' conversations, and I like hearing about where you guys are from, what tea you're drinking. Stuff like that fascinates me, to hear about like the differences in culture and how where you are region based can affect food and drinks and entertainment biases. So it's really fun for me. So anyways, thank you so much for coming to this live stream. I think I'm going to be doing 2 more this December, and then I'm going to be doing maybe like 1 a month. I think these were just to get the Discord community growing and kind of give a preview of what the casual Discord chats will look like. So if this is something that intrigued you today, I would definitely join, and hopefully we'll see you on there. Okay, take care everyone, and I'll see you later. And yes, Tijal, we will see you then a different time, probably just on the Discord chatting about. Okay, take care everyone. Bye 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 bye.